Hi everyone, today I want to show you how to make these savory choux pastries. So they're basically like your regular cream puffs, except they're savory because I add dill and also I ran out of butter, so I just threw in a hunk of cream cheese instead. So watch on to see how I make it. So before I start, I just want to apologize really quickly for not having my usual setup. I'm at a new place and I have my camera just taped onto the cupboard above the stove, so I hope it doesn't fall off. I'm still playing around with the setup, so please bear with me. But anyway, here are the ingredients. You need 90 grams of water, and that's the stuff in the blue cup, 60 grams of cream cheese, 65 grams of bread flour, about 2 tablespoons of chopped dill, so that's the green blob, 2 to 3 eggs. I cracked 3 into the cup and then I'll just see how much I need. 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise, or in this case I used Miracle Whip. And you also need to cook it over stovetop in a pot. You need a wooden spoon, a spatula, a piping bag with a tip. So I have the 1A Wilton tip, which is about ½ an inch or just over a centimeter in diameter. So before we begin, I always prep my baking sheet. So now I have a 13 by 18 inch baking sheet, and I can only fit one on my rack in the oven, and I lined it with a piece of parchment paper. So to start, you want to put the water and the cream cheese on stovetop and just cook it over medium heat until it comes to a rolling boil. Now, I put the water in and I realized it would have been smarter to put the cream cheese in first before I added the water, because now it's just going to splash, but that's okay. So just cook it until it comes to a rolling boil. You want to stir it so that the cream cheese doesn't burn on the bottom, and once it comes to a rolling boil, you can add your flour all in one go. And then just take the mixture off the heat for a moment, stir in the flour so that you have no extra clumps of dry flour or wet batter. And then we're going to return it back on low heat to cook the flour mixture for a little bit. So you want to cook it until you get a sheen of sort of opaque dough mixture stuck on the bottom. And the dough should be sort of a funny, gooey, gummy texture. So now you can take the dough off the heat and just let it cool for a minute or so, and we're ready to add the eggs. So just beat the eggs together, add a little bit in at a time, and then stir it. When you first add the egg and stir it, it's going to look like you've done something wrong, the dough splits, but just keep stirring and it'll come together. So just keep stirring and adding, switch hands if you have to, and at about the halfway point, when you've added about half of your egg mixture, you can add the 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise and stir that in as well. So now the batter is still a bit dry because it doesn't fall off the spoon unless I give it a shake. So I'm going to add a bit more egg. I'm looking for the right consistency, which is having the batter sort of glop down into the bowl if I lift the spoon up. So keep adding a little bit of egg at a time and stirring until you get the right consistency. So I've switched over to a spatula to help me get everything into a piping bag a little bit more easily, and this is about the right consistency. So when I lift the spatula, it sort of glops down back into the bowl. So I'm ready to add the last ingredient, and that's the dill. And I add it later so that I don't turn the whole batter mixture green. So just stir the dill into the batter, and you can add other fresh herbs if you want. It doesn't have to be dill. So now we're ready to pipe. So right about now I usually preheat the oven, and you need to preheat it to 375 degrees Fahrenheit or about 190 degrees Celsius. So I have the piping tip, giving the piping bag a bit of a twist, and then using a cup to help hold in the batter so that it's easier for me to transfer the batter to the piping bag, and then just pouring the whole mixture into the piping bag. And then make sure you seal the piping bag from the top. Try to squeeze out all the air and then give the top a push, so you're pushing the batter down to the tip, and then twist the top to ensure the batter doesn't come out the top when you start piping. And then just start piping round blobs onto your baking tray. So space them about an inch or about 2 centimeters apart because they do puff up quite a bit when you bake them. And there's no real science to the piping, just have your piping tip about ½ an inch off the cookie sheet, so leave about just more than a centimeter, and then just squeeze until you have the size that you want. And then just keep piping. You don't have to pipe rounds, you can pipe it into lines if you want, or basically any shape, as long as you leave enough space in between for them to expand. Before you put them in the oven, there's a super important step, and that's to spray them with water. So I have a spray bottle filled with water, and really give them a good spray. Like, make sure the parchment paper, it's wet and sort of wrinkly. Don't worry about it being too wet. It'll all evaporate in the oven, but you need the good spray, the moisture on top, to let them expand, or else the outer shell is just gonna dry once it goes into the oven and they won't be able to puff up. So give it a good spray from all directions and then bake at 375 degrees for 20 minutes or so, and then lower the temperature to 325 for another 10 minutes or so to let them dry out without burning. So this is how they look when they come out, all puffed up and nice and golden brown. Sorry about the lighting, it's nighttime and I only have those fluorescent lights here. So you can cut them open and then sandwich anything you want inside. So just as an idea, I have a hard-boiled egg with some Miracle Whip and a whole bunch of chopped veggies just as a filling. Thank you so much for watching. You can leave a comment below and let me know what you think of this recipe, or if you have any questions. Subscribe and follow if you like these sorts of videos. You can also follow me on Instagram, so I'll see you next time. Bye!